Hi dear parents, welcome back to another math hour. Today, just a review of old skills. Just want to show you again how to multiply decimals. Let's see, let's take a look at this problem right here. 7.94 times 5. Well, step number one, we're going to get our friends, Mr. Bunny, to help us out. Now, Mr. Bunny has one job. He is going to jump to the decimal point because he needs to tell us, well, how many jumps it took for him to jump to the decimal point. So let's count. 1, 2. As you can see, 2 jumps from Mr. Bunny to get to the decimal point. And that is step number 1. Okay? Step number 2. I'm going to take these numbers, 7.94 times 5. This is step number 2. And I always tell the kids, get rid of the decimal point. We don't need it right now. It's just going to make things confusing. Let's just get rid of it, and now we just have 794 times 5. And let's just multiply it straight away. So 5 times 4 is 20. Then 5 times 9 is 45. And 45 plus 2 is 47. And then finally, 5 times 7 is 35. And 35 plus 4 is 39. Step 2 is done. We have multiplied the two numbers. Now step number 3, let's bring back the decimal point. Let's put it back where the problem was. So it was 7.94 multiplied by 5. And if you remember, our Mr. Bunny, he told us that it took 2 jumps to get to that decimal point. So I'm going to bring Mr. Bunny back. I'm going to take Mr. Bunny, bring him back to our answer, put him right over here. And Mr. Bunny already told us 2 jumps, so we're going to jump twice to find out where to put the decimal point. So Mr. Bunny will jump to the left, 1, 2, and right over here. This is where we put the decimal point. And the final answer, 7.94 times 5 is 39.70. And that's basically how you multiply decimals. Let me show you another problem where both numbers have decimal points in them. So I'm going to erase all this off and give you another problem. Let's try something like this. How about 6.95 multiplied by 0.8? Now you can notice right over here that you don't need to line up the decimal points. You only line up decimal points when you're adding or subtracting. But when you multiply and divide, you don't have to line them up. Because, again, step number 1, we have decimal point on the top, so I need Mr. Bunny over here to help me out. And we got a decimal point on the bottom, so I'm going to ask Mrs. Bunny to help me out. And she wears a skirt. And both of them will jump to the decimal points. So Mr. Bunny is on the top floor. He's going to jump once, twice, 2. Mrs. Bunny is also going to jump, and she jumps once. And now what do you do with these jumps? Well, when you multiply a decimal, you got to add up the jumps, and together they total 3. 3 total jumps from Mr. Bunny and Mrs. Bunny. Step 1 done. Step 2, get rid of those decimal points and multiply all the numbers. So now we have 695. I got rid of the decimal point in there. I'm just going to multiply it by 8. I got rid of the decimal point over here. And just straightforward multiplication. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 9 is 72. And 72 plus 4 is 76. And then 8 times 6 is 48. And 48 plus 7 is, what's 48 plus 7? 55, right? 55. Step number 2 is done. Step number 3, let's bring back the decimal points. So I'm going to write down the problem one more time. We wrote 6.95 multiplied by 0.8. And since we used Mr. Bunny and Mrs. Bunny to help us out, Mr. Bunny, and I'm going to draw him in blue, Mr. Bunny is going to come down straight away to our answer, right over here. And he's going to tell us where to put the decimal point. And how many jumps? Well, he told us that there were 3 maximum jumps, so he's going to jump 3 times. Let's count. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. This is where we put the decimal point. So final answer, 6.95 times 0.8 is 5.56. You don't need to add the 0, you can leave it out. So 5.56 is the answer here. Let's do one more question. Let's do one more. We still have some time here. Let's try a bigger problem. Let's try, oh, I don't know, how about 27.24 multiplied by 1.3. Let's try this one. Step number 1, Mr. Bunny on the top and Mrs. Bunny on the bottom. And she wears a skirt. And Mr. Bunny will jump to the decimal point. So 1, 2. Mrs. Bunny will jump to the decimal point. 1. And what do you do when you multiply decimals? You just add the jumps and they become, again, 3. So step number 1 is done. And now step number 2, let's take the numbers and get rid of the decimal points. So we get 2724 multiplied by 13. Regular multiplication, let's just do it right now. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So 3 times 1 is 6 and plus 7. 3 times 7 is 21. And 3 times 2 is 6. And 6 plus 2 is 8. Level 1 done. And now level 2 begins. And level 2, we just multiply everything by the 1. So let me just get rid of all these arrows so nobody gets confused. Here we go. And now we just multiply everything by 1. So 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 7 is 7, and 1 times 2 is 2. And there we go. After you multiply all the numbers, you simply add them up. 2 plus nothing, 2. 7 plus 4, 11. 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4. 8 plus 7, 15. Carry the 1, 3. So when you multiply 2724 by 13, you get 35,412. Step 2 is done, but step 3, we got to bring back Mr. Bunny, and we're going to bring him right down to our answer. And Mr. Bunny is going to jump, and he's going to tell us where to put the decimal point. So Mr. Bunny and Mrs. Bunny together found out 3 jumps max. So now we're going to jump 3 times in our answer. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. Our final answer, 27.24 multiplied by 1.3 is equal to 35.412. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how you multiply decimals. Thank you very much.